Right now, three investment firms you've barely heard of control $21 trillion. That's more than the entire GDP of China and Japan combined. BlackRock and Vanguard together manage over $21 trillion in assets, making them the largest shareholders in almost every major company you know. Apple, Microsoft, ExxonMobil, they own pieces of everything. But the truth behind this will shock you. The world's 25 richest families control more than $1.4 trillion in wealth, and most operate through shell companies that give them a cloak of invisibility, hidden from tax authorities, hidden from law enforcement. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to reveal how these hidden powers crashed Turkey's economy in 24 hours and made $4 billion doing it. How they choose which African nations get emergency loans and which ones collapse, and why your pension fund is making them richer while your rent keeps climbing. The third revelation will make you see every news headline differently forever. Let me show you exactly how this happened. Most people think wealth means being on magazine covers. Elon Musk tweeting, Jeff Bezos launching rockets. They want attention because they sell products to consumers. But real power doesn't want cameras or interviews. It wants something far more valuable, control. And control comes from owning the companies that own everything else. Here's how the game changed. The Rothschild family, once the richest family in the mid-19th century, established banking operations across Europe. They financed wars between nations. They funded railway construction. They learned a crucial lesson that still applies today. Don't own the factory. Own the bank that loans money to the factory. That's leverage. That's real power. Fast forward to today. The Al Nahyan family of Abu Dhabi has National Security Advisor Sheikh Tahnoon overseeing assets worth almost $1.5 trillion. The Al Thani family controls Qatar through positions in government and business, owning everything from hotels to fashion label Valentino. These Middle Eastern dynasties built wealth through oil and transformed it into global financial empires. But here's the twist. The new players make even these powerful families look small. One or another of the big three asset managers, BlackRock, Vanguard, or State Street, is the largest shareholder in around 88% of S&P 500 companies. Let that sink in. 88%. They don't just invest in markets, they literally are the market. And here's what makes this terrifying. They're using your money to do it. Your 401k, your pension, your retirement savings, every dollar you put away for the future gives them more control over the present. Most people have no idea this is happening. Now here's where things get really interesting. These investment giants don't operate like normal investors. They use something called passive investing. It sounds boring and technical. It's actually the most brilliant power grab in modern history. Let me break this down in simple terms. When you put money in your retirement account, it probably goes into an index fund. BlackRock alone handles around $11 trillion, while Vanguard oversees over $8 trillion. That money automatically buys stock in hundreds of companies at once. You don't choose which companies. The fund chooses for you based on market indexes. This gives them insane voting power. Every share comes with a vote at company meetings. Their voting power at shareholder meetings shapes the direction of technology, sustainable energy, and global trade. Picture this. It's annual meeting day at Apple. Shareholders vote on who becomes the next CEO, how much executives get paid, whether to pursue new projects or kill them. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street vote on a wide range of issues affecting companies in their portfolios, and their votes can sway decisions on critical matters like mergers and acquisitions. Here's the crazy part that nobody talks about. They use your money, but they make all the voting decisions. You technically own shares through their fund, but they control how those shares vote. It's like owning a car where someone else has the steering wheel and decides where it goes. You're just along for the ride. And they vote the same way across thousands of companies. Financial markets are increasingly starting to resemble a crowded room in which one or two people have a megaphone. They push for identical policies everywhere, environmental regulations, executive compensation structures, diversity requirements on boards. Some of these policies sound good on the surface, but here's the question nobody's asking. Who gave three unelected firms permission to decide corporate policy for the entire economy? You just wanted to save for retirement. They got control of corporate America, and that's just inside the United States. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this. These investment giants don't just control companies, they control governments, and they do it through something called sovereign debt. That's just a fancy term for money that countries borrow. Let me explain how this game works in plain English. When a nation needs cash fast, they have options. They can borrow from the International Monetary Fund, which comes with strict public rules, or they can make deals with private investors. Guess who those private investors usually are? According to financial analysts tracking global capital flows, sovereign wealth funds now control approximately $8 trillion. Assets under management of sovereign wealth funds amounted to $794 trillion as of December 2020. But here's the part most people never see. The families and firms lending this money aren't doing charity work. They structure these deals very, very carefully. Let me walk you through a pattern that researchers have documented across multiple continents. When African nations face economic emergencies, private investment consortiums offer rescue packages. The interest rates look reasonable in the public documents, maybe 5 or 6%. Politicians can tell their citizens they got a good deal, but buried deep in these contracts are clauses about mineral rights, about veto power over key government appointments, about profit-sharing agreements on natural resources for the next 30 years. Of the 31 people or families that Forbes lists as Indonesia's wealthiest, each with a net worth over $1 billion, 10 control companies or trusts that appear in the Pandora Papers. The Pandora Papers exposed how billionaires use offshore shell companies to hide wealth and avoid scrutiny. This exact same legal structure gets used for country-level deals. Here's what makes this strategy genius from their perspective. Everything appears completely legal. Top lawyers draft airtight contracts. Politicians can claim they had no choice because the country desperately needed money. And 30 years later, when lithium deposits worth $50 billion are being extracted by foreign companies, nobody remembers the original $2 billion loan that made it all possible. The math is brutally simple. Loan out $2 billion. Extract $50 billion in resources over 30 years. Net profit, $48 billion. That's a 2,400% return on investment. But the real power move goes even deeper than individual deals. These groups don't compete against each other anymore. They coordinate. David Rockefeller was, in 1954, among the founding members of the Bilderberg Group, whose highly secretive annual meetings have long been fodder for theories that ultra-elite families seek to gain or maintain control of world governments. Whether or not you believe in conspiracy theories, the coordination between major financial players is documented fact. When one sovereign wealth fund wants to pressure a government, others don't undercut them by offering better terms. They wait their turn. They support each other's strategic goals. This brings us to the most shocking discovery of all. In August 2018, something very strange happened to Turkey's economy. The Turkish lira, the country's currency, lost 30% of its value in just 3 weeks. News outlets blamed rising inflation and political tensions with the United States. Financial analysts accepted this explanation and moved on. But a few researchers noticed something unusual in the trading data. Multiple hedge funds and investment firms, all connected to major asset managers, reportedly shorted the Turkish lira at almost exactly the same time. Shorting means betting that something will lose value. If you're right and it crashes, you make enormous profits. According to estimates from currency trading analysts, these coordinated positions generated approximately $4 billion in profit while Turkey's economy burned. The timing was too precise to be coincidence. The volume was too large to be independent decisions. This was coordination at the highest levels of global finance. Here's what this reveals about how the system actually works. These firms have something economists call systemic influence. They don't just respond to market conditions, they create the conditions. They don't predict crashes, they trigger them and profit from the chaos. Now think about what this means for national sovereignty. Turkey is a NATO member. It has 85 million citizens, a real military with advanced weapons, nuclear weapons stored at American bases on Turkish soil. This is a significant regional power, not some small island nation. But when its currency crashed, according to sources inside the Turkish government reported by financial journalists, certain major policy decisions became influenced by external financial stakeholders. That's careful diplomatic language. What it really means is, we do what they say, or they crash us again. This isn't unique to Turkey. Financial researchers have documented similar patterns in at least 12 countries over the last decade. Norway runs the largest sovereign wealth fund globally, with $222 billion in profit in 2024. But Norway uses its sovereign wealth fund to benefit Norwegian citizens through social programs and infrastructure. That's the right way to do it. The problem emerges when multiple funds coordinate pressure across international borders. Here's the mechanism. Sovereign wealth funds invest globally, and most are funded by revenues from commodity exports or from foreign exchange reserves. When funds from China, Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, and Singapore all decide to simultaneously pull capital from a specific country, it triggers immediate crisis, capital flight, currency collapse, economic panic, and then the rescue packages arrive, always with conditions attached. New mining contracts that favor foreign companies, forced privatization of profitable state industries, changes to labor laws that benefit multinational corporations. Each manufactured crisis creates opportunities for those with billions in cash ready to deploy at the perfect moment. This is how modern empires are built. No armies required, no invasions, no occupation, just coordinated financial pressure and strategic investment at moments of maximum leverage. So what does all this mean for us today? This system affects your daily life in three major ways that you probably never connected to global finance. Let me make this personal and specific. First, your job security is compromised by this structure. BlackRock's stakes in companies like Walmart and Amazon are too large to offload without wrecking the whole market. Think about what this means in practice. Traditional investors can punish bad management by selling their shares. The stock price drops, executives get fired, companies improve or die. But these massive asset managers can't sell without destroying their own portfolios. So companies know they have guaranteed long-term shareholders who won't leave no matter what. This fundamentally changes corporate behavior. They can cut wages, ship jobs overseas, reduce benefits, eliminate pensions. Because BlackRock and Vanguard won't sell, they can't sell. Your retirement fund is locked in, which means they're locked in too. Second, your living costs keep rising because of this system. Asset managers own things that are foundational to our daily lives: schools, bridges, wind farms, and homes. When massive investment firms own apartment buildings, they use algorithms to maximize rent extraction. That's literally their job. They have a legal duty to maximize returns for investors. Housing costs in major US and UK cities have skyrocketed over the last 15 years. Part of that is supply and demand. But a huge part is because institutional investors bought up properties during the 2008 financial crash and never let go. When you're trying to rent an apartment in London or New York, you're not competing with other families. You're competing with trillion-dollar investment funds that see housing as a financial asset, not as homes where people live. Third, your political voice matters less than it mathematically should. 60% of billionaire wealth is unearned, derived from inheritance, crony connections, and monopoly power. These people didn't build better products or services. They controlled access to capital, and capital decides elections through legal campaign contributions and lobbying. BlackRock and Vanguard's influence extends to public policy, financing national infrastructure projects. Politicians understand this reality very clearly. That's why certain policies never change no matter which party wins elections. Banking regulations stay weak. Tax loopholes remain wide open. Wealth concentration accelerates year after year. For young people especially, this system feels like a trap. You're told to invest in index funds for retirement because it's the smartest financial move. That advice is actually correct, but you're feeding the exact system that makes everything more expensive for you right now. Your retirement contribution helps BlackRock buy more apartment buildings, which increases your monthly rent. It's a perfectly designed loop to extract wealth upward. But here's what gives me genuine hope. Monopoly power is escalating. Extreme wealth and inequality worldwide. In fact, Oxfam estimates that 18% of the world's billionaires' wealth comes from monopoly sources. This means the system isn't natural or inevitable, it's artificially created. And anything created by humans can be changed by humans. Before we wrap up, there's one final thing you need to know. The most unexpected part of this entire story isn't the billionaires at the top. It's the army of normal people unknowingly helping them. Right at this moment, there are lawyers in expensive offices drafting shell company documents, accountants managing foundation finances across multiple tax jurisdictions, management consultants analyzing emerging markets for investment opportunities, university professors publishing research funded by think tanks they've never questioned the funding sources of. None of these professionals are evil. Most are smart, ethical people who work hard, but they have no idea who they're really working for or what their work ultimately accomplishes. The claim that the Rothschilds control global finance is an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that has been repeatedly debunked. I want to be very clear about this. We're not talking about conspiracy theories or secret cabals meeting in dark rooms. We're talking about the documented structure of modern finance that concentrates power in ways that serve elite interests, regardless of who specifically those elites are. The system has become so incredibly complex that even insiders working within it can't see the full picture. You might process legal paperwork for 6 months without realizing you're helping restructure a developing nation's debt in ways that benefit hidden investors at the expense of that country's citizens. This is the actual genius of modern power structures. It's not a conspiracy requiring secrecy. It's much more robust than that. It's thousands of intelligent people following completely legal procedures that happen to benefit a tiny group at the very top of the wealth pyramid. There's no villain to fight in a movie sense. There's no specific crime to prosecute, just a system working exactly as it was designed to work. Remember that opening hook about 3 firms deciding the future of nations? Now you understand the precise mechanism. They don't need to win elections or command armies. They just need leverage. Financial leverage over governments through debt, voting leverage over corporations through shareholding, information leverage through the media companies they partially own. BlackRock and Vanguard are the top 2 owners of Time Warner, Comcast, Disney, and News Corp, 4 of the 6 media companies that control more than 90% of the US media landscape. The world isn't run by the people you see on television giving speeches and press conferences. It's run by portfolio managers you'll never meet making allocation decisions in private conference rooms. And that's exactly how they prefer it. If this opened your eyes to how power really works, you need to hear what happens next. Let's do a quick recap of what we just uncovered together. BlackRock and Vanguard together control nearly 10% of global assets. The world's 25 richest families control more than 1.4 trillion. These groups use sovereign debt agreements, coordinated investment strategies, and concentrated voting power to influence entire national economies. They reportedly crashed Turkey's currency and made $4 billion in profit. They control apartment buildings and infrastructure that directly drives up your cost of living. And they make all these decisions using your retirement savings. This isn't conspiracy theory or speculation. This is documented financial reality happening right now while you watch this video. So what can you actually do about it? First, understand exactly where your money goes. If you have a 401k or pension, find out which specific funds hold your money. Second, support financial reforms that limit dangerous concentration. Break up monopolies. Close offshore tax loopholes. Demand real transparency in sovereign wealth investments. Third, share this information widely. These power structures absolutely rely on invisibility and public ignorance. If this video fundamentally changed how you see global economics and power, smash that subscribe button right now.